Maurice Nicol, Psychological Commentary, Volume 5, Amwell. August 1st, 1953. Psycho-Transformism and Self-Observation. We spoke last time about psycho-transformism. As I said, the term is used as a name for this work. At least it emphasizes that this work is essentially psychological. Its object is to change a man's or a woman's psychology. As is so often said in these papers, people do not realize that they have a psychology. They cannot see it. And for very literal, sensual-minded people, what they cannot see does not exist. But everyone has a psychology which they can get to know through observing themselves. Once you do this, you have taken a great step forward. A person who begins to practice self-observation is quite different from other people. We spoke of life being a series of events that produce a series of states in us. We're not aware of this. We neither observe consciously the event, nor do we observe consciously the effect it has on us. For example, the waiter seems rude or does not instantly attend to your needs. You fly off in a temper. This kind of event of the waiter not attending to you instantly always produces a state of violence in you. But you do not see that this particular kind of event mechanically produces a particular kind of state in you. You may remain all your life unaware of this, although other people are painfully aware of it. You must also become painfully aware of it. But since you are unaware of it, you do not see it as an unpleasant part of your psychology, and so you will not attempt to transform it. Instead, you try to transform the waiter. You have heard it said that we have to change our attitudes, and that as long as we do not change our attitudes, we cannot change ourselves. You have also heard that our attitudes connect us with the events of life as by means of invisible threads. If you always tend to lose your temper with waiters who seem to rude or ignore you, then once you have begun to try to work on yourself, you've got to make conscious gradually to yourself what your attitude is to the waiters. Supposing you are a very conceited person, it might spring from your feeling of your self-importance, which will, of course, make you touchy and violent. Then it is your attitude to yourself that is primarily wrong. At the same time, you may have an attitude of contempt towards foreigners in general, which contributes to your tendency always to quarrel with waiters. Finally, you do not see how rude you are to yourself and how you ignore others. All this has to do with becoming more conscious. Now, if you are serious and really wishing to change your psychology, which means to change your being, you will see that you have to do quite a lot even to change one thing. But nothing will change in you unless you can become conscious of the fact that you have a definite psychology which causes you to behave in a certain way to a certain event. If you can never see this, there will be no hope of your ever changing yourself, and you will continue to believe in yourself. As I said at the beginning of this note, a person who has begun to observe himself has already taken a big step forward in his possible evolution. He has begun to take the path of self-knowledge. Still, a great many of you still have no idea what it is that you're trying to change in yourselves, simply because you will never face yourselves and so never actually observe yourself. To observe what events cause you to react in a negative way is a great aid to self-observation, self-knowledge, and the formation of work memory. For you may hear about self-observation all your life, but there is always a great gap between hearing and doing. Have you observed anything in yourself this week? Do you understand that if you do not change any of the habitual ways in which you always take life, you must remain the same and attract the same situations? Begin somewhere to check your way of reacting. The waiter is only an example. New life depends on new being. Do you seek new being? Then old being must go. How? By withdrawing energy from it. The work teaches us all what things belong to the old being have especially to be drained of force. It specifies them. It defines them. It insists we should become aware of them by observing them without justifying and become conscious of the part they play in our daily existence. You cannot change and also cling to the same. I assure you that it is a great relief to change something. I should say, rather, let the neutralizing force of the work change it, and to feel it is no longer necessary. For so long we fail to see how bound and chained we are to our habits, and how wonderful it is to be freed, as, for example, to feel free from having to quarrel with waiters. Now think of something you would like to be freed from and ask the work in your heart to do it. Let us recall that this teaching is about increase of consciousness. As people are in a state of sleep, not conscious of themselves and ignorant of their being, it can be said that there are no human beings, but only a world of subhumans capable of destroying each other.